What's up guys, it's JT here with Make Life Epic, and today we have a super cool video I'm super excited to film. We're going to be taking a look at ChatGPT's rankings of the top 5 baseball players of all time. So I actually just asked ChatGPT who they think the top 5 baseball players of all time are, and they spit out a list and we're going to analyze that with you. First up on the list we have Ted Williams, who was arguably the greatest hitter of all time. I think the reason why he's on this list is just purely because of his absurd hitting stats. He had an insane average as well as great slugging power. I think he could have done better if it wasn't for World War II. And if you actually look at his stats, they're nasty, and then he's a 3-year gap year because of World War II, and then he's nasty again. So that kind of goes to show how amazing this guy was, while he also served the U.S. at the same time, which is pretty cool. All right, now moving on to number 4. Number 4 is going to be Hank Aaron. Hank Aaron's super interesting player. I really like him. I think very highly of him. And I think why he was so good is because he was so consistent. And ChatGPT actually said this, but I firmly believe it, is that because he was able to do, he never hit more than 50 home runs in a season. I saw that on ChatGPT, didn't know that. But he was able to actually break Babe Ruth's home run record because he was able to be so consistent for so long. He hit, I think, probably averaging 40 home runs per year. For over so many seasons, he was able to hit 700, I think, 50-ish home runs, which is insane for a baseball player. And the fact that he was able to be so consistent for so long is really what made him, I think, obviously a Hall of Fame player, and is why he's number 4 on our list. With that, we're going to move on to the top 3 with number 3. Number 3 is going to be Barry Bonds. I think a lot of debate over this guy just because he's played during the steroid era, and well, there was a ton of other players during his time using steroids, and it is known that he did use steroids. A lot of people say, like, well, maybe he shouldn't be in the Hall of Fame. Well, maybe he shouldn't be recognized for doing what he did because he was an enhanced athlete. Either way, I think it's undebatable that he was pretty much the most feared hitter in all of baseball. And while he was playing in the league, he was one of the best baseball players of all time. Whether what he did was ethical or not, that's up to your reasoning and your own decisions, but I still think, I agree with ChatGPT that he is the third, or top 5 easily, but they say third, which I think is reasonable, third greatest baseball player of all time, just because he was so good at the plate. Like, no pitcher would want to pitch to him, because you just knew if you left anything in the zone, you got a problem. So, I think Barry Bonds, yeah, debatable, controversial, but I think it's pretty clear that he's third, maybe a little lower. I mean, kind of up to your own decision, but I think for the most part, pretty reasonable rankings. Now we're going to move on to number 2. Number 2 on this list is going to be Willie Mays. I think Willie Mays, obviously one of the greatest players of all time, arguably debated the greatest, but I think this ranking's pretty fair. Babe Ruth, obviously, number 1. But Willie Mays was so good because he was such a well-rounded player. He had great speed, great fielding, and great hitting, something that's rarely seen in many athletes in the MLB. Usually for power hitters, they're going to be a little bigger, a little stronger, and a little bit slower. But that wasn't Willie Mays. Willie Mays was super fast, and that's what made him one of the greatest baseball players of all time. He was able to maximize his potential using his speed, so he was an amazing center fielder too. Ton of range, stuff like that. Many gold gloves because of his fielding. He also was a great hitter and a great base runner because of his speed. So for that reason, I think it is pretty clear that Willie Mays is the second best baseball player of all time. And I agree with this. ChatGPT is killing it so far. Now we're on to number 1. Let's go. Now, the best baseball player of all time, what you guys have all been waiting for. Well, maybe you probably already saw this coming, but it's Babe Ruth. Babe Ruth, pretty much, if you ask anyone, do you know a baseball player? If they don't know a baseball player, they probably have no idea what baseball is. If they know what baseball is, they probably know of Babe Ruth. Babe Ruth is, I think, he's arguably the face of baseball and has been for the last 150, 200 years, and for good reason. Babe Ruth was, especially during his time, he brought so much attention to baseball when baseball wasn't a huge sport. like it is today. Baseball, obviously an American sport, that's how it started, and there was a lot of players before Babe Ruth, but he was kind of the one that was different than everyone else. Although he isn't the definition of a modern day athlete, he's a more chubby guy, that did not stop him from doing amazing on the baseball field. He was one of the only players to excel in both hitting and pitching, a feat you rarely see until today, but I'll get to that later. But Babe Ruth was so good pretty much just because of his ability to pitch incredibly well and hit nukes. There is so many stories and so many stats that are unbroken, or were unbroken, from Babe Ruth, just because no one could hit and pitch at the same level that he did. And he did this for many years. That's what made him so good, and why he has a whole exhibit in the Baseball Hall of Fame. I was actually there this summer. But because of that, I think I would agree 100% with ChatGPT that Babe Ruth is the best baseball player of all time. Now, I want to clear up so many confusions you may have. A lot of you may be asking, what about Shohei Ohtani? A lot of people say that he's the best basketball player of all time now. And I agree with that. He is well on track to being the best baseball player, most dominant baseball player of all time, because, similar to Babe Ruth, he is excelling at both hitting and pitching, which is unlike no other player. The biggest thing is, and this thought crossed my mind too, when I first saw this list, I'm like, where's Shohei Ohtani? The thing is, he's only been playing in the league, doing what he did for about 4 or 5 years. These other players did it for 10 plus years, and I think that's the difference. If Shohei Ohtani can keep these stats up, do what he's been doing for the last 3 years, the last 5 years, and continue that over a span of his career for 10, 12, 15 years, then you'll have a new greatest baseball player of all time. But until then, Babe Ruth will remain the best baseball player of all time. And I think ChatGPT did a fantastic job at making this list. I would give it a 9.75 out of 10. Pretty perfect. Obviously, a lot of room for debate. If you have any comments, questions, or concerns, please let me know in the comments below. I would love to read and respond to all of you guys. But outside of that, that's going to be the end of today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. And as always, I hope you're excited for next week. Let's go.